Hello, welcome. This is Magnus, and welcome back to my channel. I'm not on camera right now because I just decided to just speak. Let's start with the first thing that happened to me as a gamer. Recently, my PlayStation Network account was hacked into. Now, my account was basically hacked into like a year and a half or 2 years ago during the pandemic, and I did my best to recover whatever I needed to recover. And I did the whole dual lock system where every time you log in, you have to put in a code that they send to your phone. So I did that and I set it up that way. But after a while, I was starting to get annoyed because I was logging into my PlayStation Network more often than I regularly did. So I turned that feature off. But my password was new and I thought that my account would be okay because we know PlayStation Network has been hacked previously. So lo and behold, time passes, and then the other day I woke up to messages sent from my bank alerting me that there was some unusual activity. So I log in and it was like, do you recognize these charges, unusual charges? And there were a bunch of PlayStation Network charges on my account saying that I had purchased several things. Now I'm going to read off the list of things that were purchased while I was sleeping, like around 4 in the morning. There was EA Sports FIFA 23 for PS4, and then there was WWE 2K23 cross-gen digital edition game, and then just a few more. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 cross-generational. Whoever this was, picking specific games. Then they purchased FIFA 23 for PS5. The prices were not that bad, actually. The Last of Us Part 2, $20. And then finally they purchased Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled for $21. So they didn't overspend, but they definitely did make their own purchases. Now, based off of these, obviously my thing was stolen because I'm not buying games while I'm sleeping. And then I got the final email that said, this email confirms that the sign-in ID email address of my account has been changed. So I couldn't even access my account based off of email. So from that standpoint, I suggest that PlayStation needs to change the ability to change someone's email address that easily without having the original email confirm. And if they can't access their original email, whoever that is should call PlayStation Network to verify. Because there's no reason that someone could just change all of my information like that, which was pretty upsetting. I solved this situation by calling PlayStation. They refunded me all my money. My bank's fine, though they're sending me new cards because they feel that it's a security risk to have whatever I had out there to be out there. That's a bit frustrating, but problem solved. And then I turned on the annoying two-step verification once again, because you know what? Better safe than sorry. Not that anything really bad happened besides me getting new debit and credit cards, but it's a precaution because say these charges were on a bank account where I didn't have that type of money in my account, and then they hit me with a bunch of overdraft fees. But again, my bank would have taken care of that anyway. So just be safe out there. Next topic I wanted to hit that's coming to mind is Shenmue 4. Now, it's been years since Shenmue 3 actually came out. It was announced in 2015. I believe it was released in 2019. And ever since then, it's had some lukewarm receptions from the fans and regular critics alike. Me personally, I thought the game was expansive. I thought that they could have moved a few things forward a bit, and I thought that some things were actually better done in Shenmue 2, but I always gave the game a pass because it was very much funded by the fans with some additional funding elsewhere, but it was never considered to have the extreme budget it would have when compared to the first two games that had a very large budget. So from that standpoint, I was more than pleased with what Shenmue 3 turned out to be, and I was happy with the game, but frustrated that we have to wait for Shenmue 4 to continue the story. When it comes to a Shenmue 4, I haven't given up hope, But I will say that my feeling, based off of, other YouTubers' comments and basically things that I've seen and our hope for a new game, that when it comes to pass, the funding should be not something that's crowdfunded. It should be really a studio that picks it up and recognize that there was mass excitement and mass hype that the third edition had. Forget about how the game turned out, because it had its own limitations and responsibilities based off the fact that it was kickstarted. But if you're going to do Shenmue again, I would prefer that it is completely funded by studios, and that EastNet uses, for example, the fact that the third game was mildly successful. It wasn't hugely successful, in fact, but it was successful enough to be, okay. But recognize the hype that surrounded that game. And if the game had been like a AAA next-gen seller, you would have had the franchise take off. Let me give you an example. Often Shenmue is compared to Grand Theft Auto. Shenmue is one of the pioneers when it comes to open world gaming. And it's compared to Grand Theft Auto because Grand Theft Auto 3 was the game that really changed open world and made it trendy, next level. So when it made it next level, it didn't matter that Grand Theft Auto 1 and Grand Theft Auto 2, though mildly successful themselves, weren't exactly system sellers at their standpoint. But the next generation of gaming that Grand Theft Auto 3 ushered in, the first two didn't even matter. And even though there was some connection with the first two Grand Theft Autos, it was loosely based on it, and it really could be its own thing. Now, Shenmue 4 would of course have to continue the story, and you always have to bring that original game into it, or that original story that starts it off. But if you really put some money and budget behind it, you'll not only have a head start because you have all the original Shenmue fans after it, but you would have new fans because of the gaming engine, because of the new things that it introduces. And Yu Suzuki is the king of introducing new elements to gaming that people have never seen before. So I think that with doing that, that would actually be next level for the franchise. Now, if you're going to do that and make a AAA game, unfortunately, though I've heard nothing of any development for Shenmue 4, when you do that, you need years. So I do not foresee that Shenmue 4, should it be like the next level game that we want it to be, Shenmue 4 will not be released anytime soon, at least within the next 3 or 4 years. That's how I see it. The last thing I want to talk about is a game that I've been playing recently that doesn't really get mentioned ever at all. Now, I'm a fan of Street Fighter games. I have been for a while. But the first time I personally played a Street Fighter game online was a game called Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. Basically, Hyper Street Fighter 2 took the different versions of all of the Street Fighter 2 games from the first World Warrior all the way up to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And it used those characters, fighting styles of each of the versions that you can play against each other. So you can have a Champion Edition Blanca versus a Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition Blanca. And although they're the same character, they play completely differently. Now, I know there were problems because, of course, there's certain types of characters that when you play in certain modes, they're really overpowered when it compares to other versions, especially Champion Edition versions of a lot of characters. But it was still so much fun, and I absolutely love that game. And it also came, if you bought the disc, with Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. So that disc I actually bought for the PlayStation 2 first, and then when I heard that the Xbox version, the original Xbox version, was going to be competitive online, I bought the Xbox version as well, and I played the heck out of it. I was actually a really good fighter in it, and it actually made me enjoy playing Street Fighter 2 online because I can actually use my favorite versions and others can use their favorite versions. And yes, there were some overpowered matches that I would have where I had the extreme advantage or others would have the extreme advantage because just they did the same way. But I do love a challenge, and I always love playing the original classic Street Fighter 2 games online. And Hyper Street Fighter 2 the Anniversary Edition made me fall back in love with the Street Fighter series again, and it's a shame that they don't have anything similar now. The closest thing was Street Fighter the Anniversary Collection that had all the different Street Fighters, but you're very limited to play certain editions of Street Fighter 2 online. And I know why, because of the balancing, and that's very important. But for me, I didn't care about balancing. I just wanted to have fun, and sure, I would have matches where people were way overpowered and they just keep going and going and going, but I didn't care. It was still fun for me to play these different characters, and I wish it was brought up a lot more. So I wanted to bring it up here and give some light to that. But that's it. That's my little gaming update for you guys. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of casual commentary without the need of me being on camera. Though I do like being on camera, my studio right now is way not ready for that type of stuff. So, as always, thank you. Let Shenmue IV live on. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys next time.